All right, what's going on, y'all? Today I want to talk about how to bulk and build muscle without gaining fat, or at least with gaining as little fat as possible. I've done this both ways. Back in the day, I did those dirty bulks, or those bulks where you just go ahead and you start eating everything under the sun. You throw tons of calories at it. But with that, I did put on quite a bit of fat in the process. I got really fluffy. At 5'8", I've been up to 245 pounds and thought I was, just a huge muscular dude when really I was just pretty chubby. Compared to over the last 4 or 5 months, I've been bulking for the last 4 or 5 months now, and I still have abs. I still have six-pack abs. Granted, they're not as crispy or sharp abs as if I was deep into a cut or a contest prep, but I still have abs. I have put on some fat in the process, but it's been an extremely minimal amount. And I followed 3 points, or I've done these 3 points that I'm going to tell you guys today that's allowed me to do this, to put on quite a bit of muscle with putting on very little fat in the process. Now, before we get into those 3 points, I want to preface this video with, you're going to have to be okay with putting on at least a tiny bit of fat. For most of you out there, some of you out there are going to be those genetic freaks that your metabolisms are so high that you're not really going to put on fat at all. But for most of you out there, if you are eating in a calorie surplus, you are bulking, you are trying to build muscle, you have to understand that you're going to probably put on at least a little bit of fat in the process. If you're in a calorie surplus, 100% of that surplus is not going to turn straight into muscle. But with that being said, you can have most of that turn to muscle and very little of it turn to fat. And if you are gaining quite a bit of muscle in the process, the fat distribution changes to where the little bit of fat that you gain is very not noticeable at all. Now, to follow these 3 points right and do this properly, you are going to have to use your scale, you are going to have to use your mirror, and preferably use progress pictures. I use all three. Every morning when I wake up, I weigh myself right after I pee. I enter that in MyFitnessPal. I also use the mirror, and then once a week I take progress pictures. That way I'm able to tell, am I truly putting on muscle, or am I just putting on, a good bit of fat? And that's the way you can go ahead and really track this and make sure you're doing this right. Now, if you don't care about gaining fat and, having abs while you're bulking, then, you can just go ahead and start throwing calories at it. But with that being said, I have done those dirty bulks in the past. And I can say right now, I'm gaining muscle at a faster rate than I did back then because of the insulin sensitivity. I'm not gonna get into that in this video, but I can tell you, me personally, I do gain muscle faster and more efficiently when I am still leaner. I know a lot of other bodybuilders that they found that as well. So there is a point to, besides just having abs, while you're bulking, there is a point to also remaining as lean as possible for as long as possible. That way you're able to put on muscle as efficiently as possible during your bulk. All right, so the first point I have for you, and this is a big one, is you want to have a successful reverse diet. So just as if you were to try to cut down, you're trying to lose body fat, you wouldn't want to go ahead and drop your calories from, say, 3,500 calories a day down to 2,000 calories a day overnight. You want to go ahead and drop those calories over time. That way you don't burn muscle. It's much more of a clean process. The same thing goes with reverse dieting. You don't want to go from, say you just got done with your cut, or you're in maintenance mode right now sitting at, say, 2,500 calories a day. You don't want to go ahead and just jump up to 4,000 calories a day. One, you're going to be super bloated. It's going to be hard to get that food down. But then two, your metabolism's not going to be there yet, and you are going to put on quite a bit of fat if you go ahead and you just jump those calories up. That's where a reverse diet comes in, and this is where you can efficiently put on a good bit of muscle without putting on fat. So there's many different ways people like to do this. Some people like to carb cycle, where they've got, high carb day, medium carb day, and a low carb day. I don't personally carb cycle. I've got nothing against it. I know people that love it. Me personally, I don't really do that. I will have some days where my carbs might be a little bit lower, but overall, I don't really carb cycle. The way I've done it over the last 4 or 5 months is, say that I started with 2,500 calories. Well, the next week I might go ahead and raise them up to 2,650. I might raise, my calories by 150 calories that week and just be carbs. Rarely do I go ahead and increase my proteins or fats. I do increase fats a little bit over time. Really, I'm just manipulating my carb zone, just increasing carbs over time. So how I like to do it is, say I'm at 2,650. If the scale is going up, I'm probably going to keep the calories there. As soon as I see the scale stall out for about a week or two, that's when I go ahead and make another calorie jump. And usually the calorie jumps are anywhere from 100 to 200 calories per day. And typically that's all in carbs. Obviously, if I've got a cheat meal or something, my fats are gonna be through the roof. But overall, just a typical day, I'm just raising those carbs And this is how I've been able to do it. So, right now I'm eating between 3,900 and 4,100 calories a day. I built up from, 4 or 5 months ago being in the 2,500 calorie a day range, and I've just slowly built up my calories over time. So not only am I checking the scale to make sure that, the scale is still increasing by, say 1 to 2 pounds per week, sometimes even less by only 0.5 pounds per week. But I'm also checking the mirror and I'm checking my progress pictures. If I start seeing that I'm getting fluffy, then I'll hang out there for a week, maybe even up to 3 weeks, and I'll recomp there. So I'll harden up at that calorie range. And I've done this several times over the last 4 or 5 months to where I might make a calorie jump, and for a few weeks I might be pretty watery, bloated, and then also I might feel that I'm getting a little fluffy. I'll hang out there for a little bit and allow myself to grow into that new calorie range. So point number 1 is big. A successful reverse diet to where you're checking the scale, you're checking your progress pictures, you're slowly raising your calories over time to match your new metabolism and raise your metabolism over time. That's been the way I put on, a good bit of muscle over the last few months with putting on very little fat. So point number 2, this is also a big one that I see too many people neglect. You need to focus on progressive overload. I don't care if you're doing high volume training like what most people do, or you're doing what I do, which is high intensity training. Whatever style bodybuilding you're doing, you need to focus on progressive overload. You need to focus on increasing the load every single time you go into the gym. That should be your goal. I see too many people not even tracking any of their workouts at all. I have all of my clients, they have to have a logbook and they have to track every single rep and every single set, because progressive overload is the bread and butter of all of this. You've got to go ahead and focus on progressive overload with good form and good range of motion. If you do that, what's going to happen is you're going to be putting on muscle, and with that, your metabolism is going to be raising over time. So as you're reverse dieting, you're raising up your calories, you should also be getting stronger, putting on more muscle. Now your metabolism from both angles is going to be raising. So this is the way you go ahead and you put on a good bit of muscle, and since your metabolism is raising to match your new calorie level, you're going to be putting on very little fat in the process. But it's very, very hard to successfully progressive overload over time without tracking everything. I have many logbooks over the last few years to where I track even my warm-up sets. I literally track every single rep that I do in the gym, even if it's a warm-up set, if it's my top set, back off set, I track literally everything. And that's how you'll know you'll get stronger and stronger over time, which will hopefully in turn into muscle. All right, so point number 3, this is also a big one, and this is gonna be the one that I know a lot of you aren't gonna like. The cleaner your diet is, the better off you're gonna be with this. I follow a pretty strict bro diet. I'm gonna do a full day of eating coming up here soon, but I do eggs and oats in the morning. I do plenty of chicken and rice meals. At night, I might do a beef and rice meal, but I follow a bro diet. That's the way I like to eat, and that's the way I found I put on very little fat while putting on quite a bit of muscle. And many of my clients have seen this, many of my friends have seen this. If you wanna follow If It Fits Your Macros, and you want to start throwing in other stuff, I do think you can still put on quite a bit of muscle, but it's not as clean. It might only be negligible difference. And some of you out there with, crazy metabolisms, you can throw this part out the window. But for most of you out there, the cleaner your diet, the better your body composition is going to stay during the off season or during a bulk. I know there's studies out there, and I know that a lot of the science says that If It Fits Your Macros should be about the same as bro diet, but from what I've seen personally and anecdotally and among my clients and friends is, the body processes high quality proteins versus low quality proteins differently, high quality carbs versus low quality carbs. It's a little bit different. That's where if you follow more of a clean diet or a bro diet, you're probably going to stay leaner through an off season or through a bulk compared to someone who might be at the same calorie range, but it's mostly dirty. All right, but those are the 3 points. Obviously, there's the whole natural versus enhanced athlete debate. And there is, some of that goes into there. But I know natural athletes and enhanced athletes that do all these points, and it works out better for both. So these points work whether you're, 100% natural or whether you are enhanced and you're trying to compete. These points will work out for you. But these are the 3 points that I've been following, and I put on a good bit of muscle while putting on very little fat in the process. The big one that I want you guys to hone in on is having a successful reverse diet. If you're reverse diet right and you're really tracking everything from your weight on the scale to your progress pictures, you're going to be able to manipulate your calories and carbs to really match where you truly are, especially if you're trying to progressive overload in the process. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please do me a huge favor, hit that like button down below. Make sure to hit subscribe if you haven't already. Leave any comments or questions down below. I love going ahead and helping you guys out. Be happy, be positive, be powerful, and have a great rest of your day.